Good evening, sports fans, and welcome back to another episode, our first regular season episode, if you will, of Mystery and his great football mind. And I am your host, Darren Mind of the Steel Trap, Darren Steele. How are
Thank
you
you, my
tonight,
good friend Darren. Thank you. Thank you.
Mystery? How are you on this Thursday evening?
I'm doing great with my good friend Darren, the mind of steel trap. Yes, I'm so excited to be back with Darren. I'm so happy. This is great. I can't wait to see what you have in store for us today. This is great.
Well, Mr. E, honestly, I think everyone's waiting to see what your great mind and all knowing intellect has for us as we are now on the proverbial doorstep of the NFL season, which starts in just a few days from now. And tonight I think we're going to talk a little bit about our season predictions for the teams and the divisions, play a little spot on, spot off. But I think a lot of people in Vegas, Atlantic City, and since gambling is pretty much legal anywhere, are waiting to see what you say on some of these odds and where these teams are going to finish.
Yes, these are my favorite. The predictions that they where I look into the mystic vodka and make my predictions far into the future.
Yes,
Yes.
I think that's great. Preseason's over, so no more of this kind of up in the air and kind of guessing. We're ready for some football, and the
Yes.
vodka's been crisp, it's been on the rocks, and it's ready, right?
Yes. It is time for the guessing is never a question. It's always the knowing.
Yes, and the great mystery, I believe, is undefeated going into the regular season. So hey,
Everybody is O and O.
that's right. It's back down to normalcy, but as we know, with the great mystery's all-seeing mind, it's probably going to go your way if you stick with Mr. E. So,
Yes.
Mr. E, before we get to the divisions, a couple of questions for you
Sure.
here that I think are on the minds of a lot of different fans, especially on different fan bases. We'll play a little spot on, spot off on if you agree with a couple of these things. So, our first one tonight comes to the Detroit Lions. Are they going to be the
Yes.
picking as the number one team in the NFL next year in the draft? Will they be the worst team in the NFL this year?
No, well, if you're the worst team in the NFL, it's not so bad because you get the first pick. They don't have a lottery or anything like that. You get the first pick, which is good. So that is good that they are going to be bad. Yes, I agree. Spot on. The Detroit Lions will be the worst team in the league.
I agree. I think there's just so much there that they went out. They got Jared Goff, who Jared Goff just reminds you that friend you had in high school. He wasn't the valedictorian or the star athlete. He wasn't also the bottom of the class. He was just that guy that had a lot of good snacks at the house when you went over to visit his mom and dad, and that's about all you're gonna get.
And he
They're
had the hot
rebuilding.
girls. He had the hot girls that they wouldn't date you, but I'm
No.
saying they were like good to look at. No,
Yes.
not so bad.
Yes. That's right. And so I agree. I think the Lions, if they get lucky on a one or two win somehow this year, but yeah, I would agree
I
with that. Spot
guarantee
on.
they'll beat the Chicago Bears in Detroit. I don't know why that always happens. That's the easy one to pick already. I don't even know when they play.
I believe that's a Thanksgiving game. We'll get to that when we each week, everybody, for all our fans, each week we make our picks, and that will start next week. So obviously when we eat our coveted turkey legs that week, it's usually week 10, I believe. It's I think the Bears and the Lions, which will probably be a snore fest, but hey, we'll get to the Bears and Lions here in a little bit. Our second spot on, since we're thinking the Detroit Lions will finish last, the Tampa Bay Bucks are doing something very unique. They return all 22 starters to the Super Bowl team from last year. They are the first team to do that in almost a century. Basically, the first team to ever do that. They're all back. Spot on. The Bucks will repeat as Super Bowl champs, or spot off.
You know, as much as it pains me to say this, yes, I do think that your spot. I think that they will be returning champs. I think that Tom Brady. I don't know what it is. I think he's got them. I may have the ability to see a future, but he has the fountain of youth. I tell you, do not bet against Tom Brady. I've learned the hard way.
Yeah, they were looking for it in Florida all those years. I think he found it in New England and took it back to Florida where it's supposed to be. Um,
Yes,
I'm going to go spot off on that one. We'll come up to that in our league predictions here later.
sure.
But I think they're going to definitely make a strong push to get there. And again, everyone talks about Tom Brady, as they should. That defense is incredible. That defense shut down some major quarterbacks on its way last year, and when they got to the Super Bowl, they shut down Patrick Mahomes. Don't count out or don't sleep on that Tampa Bay D. It's a lot like that Tampa Bay D in 2002 with Warren Sapp and the company that really took them to the Super Bowl and won it for them then. So, number 3, John Gruden must win this year, have a winning season, and get into playoffs, or he is the most overpaid and overrated coach in the NFL.
I agree he's the most overrated and overpaid coach. So whatever that is that spot on,
I
spot
think
off?
so.
I don't know. But he is overpaid. He had one. He's had a couple of good seasons. One, he had a really good team in Tampa Bay, and he won. But I think overall he's overpaid now. The NFL passes you by. He's gone.
I agree. If he would have listened to the great Mr. E back in the beginning of the 2000s, I think if he would have stayed just as a head coach, I think he probably has a couple rings by now. Then he gets into ABC. I think he's Monday Night Football, ESPN, whatever. I mean, he was all over the place, and he'd sit down with the quarterbacks, and everyone really enjoyed that. It was a really good bit where he talked to each quarterback about plays and stuff like that. But I think he got away from it, and he's had his chance now in Vegas. We're going to talk about the Raiders here a little bit later. That Raiders defense is horrendous. Offense is probably a little better. It might win them some games, but I don't think the Raiders are set up for success this year, and I think they're paying him an obscene amount of money to probably miss the playoffs again this year. So I'd say spot on.
I don't think he has the talent.
I agree.
He has the talent.
Right. Okay, that brings us to the last one here. The Browns, Steelers, and Ravens will beat each other up so profusely during the regular season, by the time any of them get to the playoffs, if they all get to the playoffs, they're not going to advance past one round or 2 rounds.
Yes, that is spot on. I think that that crazy AFC though. I tell you, nobody. I mean, the Bills, they might just blow through people. I'm not even making my predictions yet, but I'm saying that crazy things will happen. But those 3 teams will beat each other up. But you know what? This is a mystery prediction. Right? I'll give you a little preview here. Here you go. I think the Baltimore Ravens always seem to somehow be in it. Sometimes be like, how are they doing that? This is the other year. The year where you're like, they should be in this. Why are they not in this? This is the year where the Ravens stumble like they should. Instead of succeed forward, they're going to succeed backward.
Wow, that's a bold prediction. I actually kind of like that prediction.
Yes.
So that Mr. E has just opened up the crystal ball for all you guys getting ready to lay your money down in Vegas next week. I love it.
I looked into the Mystic Vodka and I predicted. I saw the olive was upside down, and I said this is not good for the Ravens.
That's right. Yes, very good. Well, hey, that's great, and I think we agreed on about 3 out of 4 of those. I'm going to go with you on the Bucks, so we'll get to that next here. So you know what? Let's carry that last question right into probably the toughest division, and we'll go with the AFC first. That AFC North, man, this is just brutal. Here's the way I'm looking at it to start off. I think the Browns are the team to beat in the AFC North. I think they're deeper at every position. That offensive line is one of the top 5 offensive lines in football. They have great running back depth there. The only thing with the Browns is, can they live up to the hype? Because now they kind of made it there. Now they're kind of like, us, other guys are calling for them to win that division. Are they going to meet expectations? I think they probably will. I think you see them probably at the top of that with the Steelers and the Ravens battling for second. And I actually am going to agree with you. I think the Ravens take a step back this year a little bit. I'm not sure why. Don't ask me scientific. That defense is going to be great. It's deep. It's fast. It's young. But I think the Steelers and the Browns are going to kind of get the better of them in this division this year. And I think the Ravens are always used to, well, it's the Steelers. It's us and the Steelers. It's us and the Steelers. Well, now the Browns play a factor, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think the Browns actually sweep the Ravens this year. I think that's a problem. I think they lose one of the Steelers. And, I think they find themselves in a bit of a conundrum because of that. And they have a tough schedule, too. So yes. I'm going to go with the Browns winning it, Steelers and Ravens battling for second. I'll take Pittsburgh, sneaking into the playoffs that way. And then you got the Bengals. The Bengals they got Joe Burrow, and they had one job last year, protect Joe Burrow. They're 0 for 1 on that. Zach Taylor and crew, if they don't at least get a few wins this year and get them in like a competitive mode, I don't think anyone's expecting the Bengals to make the playoffs in that division yet. I think Zach Taylor could be your first coach out, and the Bengals are at the bottom again this year.
Yes, I agree with that, and I do believe it will be a dog fight with the dog pound, and I believe that the Steelers will be in that mix too. It might come down to late in the season, but I do think this is the weird one for me because until they do it, I'm not going to trust the Browns. That is the problem. They've always had. They're always like almost. They did get a little bit further, but I want to see them do it once. So just out of maybe spite or maybe because maybe Mister's not feeling so good. I don't know. I'm gonna take the Steelers to win this division because nobody thinks they'll do that. Nobody. I think Najee Harris is going to have a good year, going to have a great year. And I think that the Browns will be right there too. They're going to be a wild card. And I think the Ravens, I think they're going to be right in the mix. I think when I say that they're going to be right there, but they're going to have problems in the middle of the season. So I'm just going to say that the Ravens are third in the division, but it's so tough that I think that they'll all be above 500.
Yeah, and if you look at a lot of the metrics right now, I mean, they have the Ravens and the Browns and the Steelers' defense is kind of right at the top. Their offenses are right there. Everybody seems to agree with that. What's kind of holding the Steelers down is, like we talked about a few weeks ago, that offensive line. It's such a question mark. A lot of them have them in the bottom 2 or 3 in the entire league. And I told you I was afraid who's the anchor on a line that's basically brand new. But what if that offensive line comes together and performs well? Well, then, like you said, Steelers could easily win a division. So I like your pick. I'll go with the Browns and stay with. Hey, I like you picking the Steelers to win that division too.
It's because this is not the mystical vodka. This is the I just want to see the Browns do it before I believe it. That's all. That
Okay.
is it.
Okay, and then that might be like a different mystical vodka when they do it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
All Cleveland will be drinking the mystical vodka.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's kick it up. Stay geographically sound in the AFC East. I think this is the Bills division clearly. I think the Dolphins and Patriots are interesting because they are now playing to kind of get back. I think the Patriots have done well. Who could have saw that Cam Newton was going to be cut by the Patriots? They're gonna go, with in a different way here, and I think a lot of people thought, well, that could happen, but it just did, and then they just cut him. But that's the Bill Belichick way, and I think the Bill Belichick has kind of got back to where he wants to. It's a solid defense. It's not a bad team coming back. It's actually the youngest team in the AFC East, and that can be dangerous. And then the Dolphins, you don't sleep on their defense. It's very good. If Tua and that offense come together, they may even take one from the Bills. I think the Bills go second. Patriots are right there, and the Jets. One thing I'll say about the Jets, Zach Wilson's kind of interesting to me. This kid's flying under the radar. Not a bad QB. Had a great year by BYU. Broke some of Steve Young's records there. He's flying under the radar. Had a pretty decent preseason. Unlike some of the other preseason battles we saw, when he entered into that, it was very clearly he was the better quarterback there. They're going to go with him. I don't know how they're going to protect him. His weapons are iffy, and the Jets are going to win probably more than 3 or 4 games. But Zach Wilson, interesting quarterback to watch for the Jets.
Yes, I agree. I agree with the Bills winning the division. But I also think I'm more high on the Miami Dolphins. I like Tua. Tua's gonna have another strong season. I think he's in that sweet spot. He's played a couple of years. He's got his knowledge base. He's ready to go. The Dolphins have improved, so I think that they're going to be a close second. The Patriots, I know Belichick gets some 8, 9, wins, and I think that because he can coach up any team, right? So that's what he wants. He wants a bunch of he tells them what to do, they do it. But I still think in this one you do need. This is still a star league, so I think that I think he'll be hovering around there 7, 8, maybe 9 wins, maybe. I think that and then the Jets are going to be the spoilers. Whoever loses to the Jets are going to in a home game to the Jets. That is the one. That's the one that will hurt the most.
That's a good one. I'm going to write that one down. It might be fun to come back to in the season. Very good. Yeah, I think Bills clear cut winner. I think you might see the Bills maybe only lose 2 or 3 games in the regular season. They're just they're firing on every cylinder right now. Russo, the number one pick this year, has looked phenomenal in the preseason. They really, what a lot of people said they were missing was that defensive end edge rusher, and it looks like they got it. So that was preseason, granted, but adding Russo may have been one of the steals of the draft for one of the best teams in the draft. So, okay, so let's go a little bit further down south. This is where you take the top off of your flying carpet with the convertible. AFC South, again, kind of like the Bills. I think the Titans, it's their division to lose. They even gave Ryan Tannehill, Julio Jones. He's got a nice assortment of receivers. He's got Derrick Henry, arguably the best back, a good offensive line, a fairly good defense. Titans to lose. I got the Colts there second. But then, the Colts have Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, what's the chance of Carson Wentz making it through the season and you going from Miami to Seattle for a game on your flying carpet, not flying off? I say advantage, Mr. E. And then
I already predicted this Carson Wentz problem.
Yes.
I did this already. We go back to it, but right. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you okay?
Steele there. Right?
Yes. Well, sometimes it needs WD-40, so it's okay. Then you have the Jags and the Texans. Jags, don't sleep on the Jags on one thing here. I don't think they're going to be a great team. That offensive line is entirely intact. It's the same offensive line from last year that produced very well with James Brown or Jerome Brown in the background. He's back as running back since ETN is out for the season.
Yes.
Who knows what is going to happen with Trevor Lawrence? I think a lot of eyes are on him, but it's Jacksonville. A lot of eyes on TV. Probably 24 eyes from the stands. The Jags are not going to make any noise, but I think they're a lot better than the Texans are. I think the Texans are the worst team in the AFC, and Titans, Colts second, Jags. Like you talked about, maybe the Jets. I think the Jags could upset a few teams here and there, but it's the Titans to lose.
Yes, and the only reason why the Texans and the Jaguars are not going to pick first is because they're in the same division and they play each other.
Yes.
So that it's not fair to the Lions to say they are the worst team. They will have the worst record, but that's only because these other two bozos are in the same division.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the battle for second pick in the draft next year is how those two go at each other. So,
but yes, I agree wholeheartedly. Tennessee is got this division, and this is why the NFC North, and then why there's not as much competition for the wild card spots because you have that's two teams right there that are not going to be competitive, and that makes it a little bit easier for the teams. Why you're going to see two teams probably from this or two teams from the same division in the wild card.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it could pan out that way quite easily. The Texans are a mess. They're totally rebuilding, and so I think the Titans and the Colts kind of roll over them. But that Colts defense is phenomenal. A lot of people sleep on that Colts defense. It's really good. You probably couldn't name one guy on it, but they're a good team, and it's going to keep them in it. They may steal one from the Titans. Who knows? But I think a lot of things fall on Carson Wentz. We'll see how that goes. I think it's Titans to lose. Then that swings us over to the AFC West. This is an interesting division. It's probably the Chiefs to lose. The Chiefs are the best team. Chargers and the Broncos are kind of coming up, though. The Chargers got a great young quarterback there from Justin Herbert. I really like how he is, and that defense is stout. But the Broncos, naming Teddy Bridgewater the quarterback, he's got a great wide receiver core. He's got Cortland Sutton, who's back. He's a number one receiver. He's back. Jerry Jeudy had a phenomenal rookie season last year. Then he got KJ Hamler, arguably maybe the fastest man in the NFL, in the slot. He's got a lot of weapons and a very good offensive line. And the defense got Von Miller back. The Broncos could sneak in as a wild card. I think it's really going to be important how those games with the Chargers go. But it's Kansas City's division to lose. Great defense, Patrick Mahomes, the whole 9 yards. And then you got the Raiders. We talked about that. Offense is good. Waller, a great tight end. A lot of offensive lines improved a little bit. Jacobs a decent running back, but that defense is just full of holes, and it's full of holes in a division like you were just talking about that has three fairly good, if not two dominant offenses. The Raiders are in big trouble. It's the Chiefs to lose.
Yes, I agree. I'm not as uh, bullish on the Broncos like you are, but it is a thin line. It is a thin line. But I think that I see in that division Kansas City and in like you said the Broncos pushing to get into the wild card.
Right, but as you said, and it's a great point. I mean, they're pushing in a wild card, but you probably have the Steelers and Ravens and the Dolphins and the Patriots in the same boat. So, interesting. AFC is always so interesting, and it's going to be again this year. So yeah, we got that. We'll come back to the AFC for our playoff picks there. NFC, let's swing out to the kind of home turf right now of Mr. E. Let's throw on that an NFC North division. The Aaron Rodgers Revenge Tour, as it's probably being
Yes.
referred to. It's his last call. It's the last dance with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. I think it's easily, once again, it's their division to lose. I don't think they will. Good defense. Aaron Jones is a stud running back. Good receiving core. Packers should probably run away with this. Vikings have Kirk Cousins. Not a bad quarterback. They'll do enough. And then the Bears and Lions. The Bears, I love Justin Fields. As bad as I thought the Mitch Trubisky draft pick was a few years back, and I think that may have been one of the worst picks in their history. I think they got it right with Fields. I think if they protect him, the Bears are a team we could be talking about in the next couple years. But it's the Packers. Vikings are going to be second, and the Bears and Lions are right in the bottom. And we already talked about where we think the Lions are going to be. I say one win, maybe
Yes,
two
I
at best.
agree. I agree. I think that you're looking at Green Bay in that one. I think Minnesota may be able to sneak in on the wild card. I think it is Green Bay's to lose. I just don't see enough. They have too many games against against teams that in the divisional games that will enable them to be fresh and ready for the tough games. So I think that I see in this one, Green Bay. I agree.
Yeah, and it's. I think it remains to be seen what will be a bigger statistical category: Aaron Rodgers' ego or Aaron Rodgers' passing stats. That's always kind of fun. What do you see there, Mystery, in your crystal ball?
Well, I see that he's clear, meaning that he is the Scientology says he's clear. You
Ah,
know,
yes,
so
yeah,
I think
and
that I think he's going to have another statistically good year. I don't. I think this is he's always motivated when he's put down or thinks he's always been that way, and I think this will be another one of those years. So if you, I think he's a player to have on your fantasy draft team. I think he's going to put up good numbers this year. I think he's an amazing quarterback. So I think that he's I wouldn't bet against him.
no, I think you're right, and I think that really the NFC North is probably where the Packers have the clear cut favorite. We'll flip over to the NFC South here a little bit. Bucks the clear favorite as well. I had the Bucks finish in that division. Actually, they could probably put plain Gabbard in and win every single divisional game there, and win almost just about all their games. Saints and Falcons are now in a rebuilding process, and the Panthers have Christian McCaffrey. But if anything happens to McCaffrey, now you're relying on Sam Darnold. I don't like that at all. Let's hope McCaffrey doesn't get injured. But he got injured last year, and you saw what happened to the Panthers. They lost, some of their defensive linebackers and linemen. They're in a big rebuild mode. Falcons will probably win a few games, but just not enough to make the playoffs. I think the Bucks stand alone in that division, no question.
Yes, I agree. Again, picks. I agree with your pick there. I think that one is just is an easy one. Again, I think that Tom Brady is going to be able to rest a lot this season.
Yeah,
So don't count on him for big numbers. That's the problem. He might be taking off whole halves of games.
yeah, yeah. Right, right. By the third quarter, he might be in the studio getting ready for the 4 o'clock game. That's correct. Yeah.
Exactly. He could be with Troy Aikman
Yes.
talking about what the play is going to happen next.
Yeah.
That's
I,
like him and
I
Joe
agree.
Buck.
I agree.
Yeah.
And a lot of Steelers fans are probably not going to like that. Now you have given Antonio Brown a full off season to work with them, work with that playbook. That's just a guy who last year didn't make a lot of noise in the playoffs, but you have him in there along with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and man, that team's going to be tough to beat for any of those guys. So I'd say the last two for the best for last year. NFC East is really interesting, and NFC West. That's the one division out of all these divisions where I think just about any one of those teams can win. Let's go with the NFC East first. You got Cowboys and Washington. I think the two clear cuts. Giants, who knows? I mean, Saquon Barkley, one of my personal favorites, but can he hold up behind that offensive line? Can Danny Jones? The Eagles could push the Lions even a little bit for worst team in the league. I think they'll be in that bottom five too, right there with Jacksonville and Texas. But the Cowboys, everything rests on Dak's shoulders. He already had a shoulder injury. The Washington defense is maybe one of the best defenses in the league. Nobody's talking about. Great balanced team. I actually would go with my upset there. I think Washington wins the NFC East. I think Dallas is in the wild card, and then the Giants and Eagles are in the bottom.
It's like you're looking over my shoulder. You must. Were you when I was making the when I was meditating and trying to find this? I said to myself that Washington defense is too good. It's too good, and they got Fitzmagic.
Yeah.
Fitzmagic going to be their starting quarterback. He is good for like 6-7 games until it rubs off, until the magic wears off.
Right.
And then he loses 4, and then they put somebody else in. That will be enough to win that division because it will be the right 6 games.
Yeah, all right. Come back in the last 2 games and be phenomenal like he was in the first 2.
Exactly. He's Fitzmagic. He's not related to me, okay? But I'm just saying he's going to get the Washington football team. He's going to make it so that they are going to win this division. And again, I have bad feelings for Dak. I like Dak. I think he's a winner. I think he's a great quarterback. Nothing personal. I just think it's going to be a tough season for him. So I don't think the Cowboys will get to where they think they're going. And then the rest of the division, forget about it.
I agree. Dallas definitely addressed the defense, bringing in Parsons and some of the they brought in Booker. I'm sorry, Malik Hooker. They brought in a lot of great stuff there. If he stayed healthy, they probably are the clear front runner. But I think that Redskins defense is going to give them problems, especially Dak, and I think that's where they kind of prevail there. And the Giants and Eagles. Here's the scary thing with the NFC East: the Giants and Eagles are probably going to beat the Cowboys. One of them is. Right. It just always happens. I mean, the Cowboys could go in as a 21-point favorite and they'll lose by 3 touchdowns. And it's nothing maybe the Cowboys did. It's just a victim of circumstance in the NFC East. And from when you and I were growing up, boy, with NFC East, it was like, well, which team out of the NFC East is going to win the Super Bowl this year other than the Eagles? And now it's just kind of a hard one to predict. NFC West, anybody here could probably win.
Yes.
The 49ers, well-balanced. We'll see what Garoppolo does. He may lose that starting job if he doesn't perform well in the beginning. The Rams, easily, again, arguably maybe the best defense in that division behind Tampa or even in front of Tampa and with Washington. But you know what? The Rams went out and got Matthew Stafford for a reason. Now Stafford has Cooper Kupp. He has some other good receivers to work with, a nice tight end to work with, a very good offensive line. And then, you have the Cardinals. Kyler Murray could be an NFL MVP. I mean, he's that guy that he could put them on their shoulders. He's got some veteran group of receivers. The Cardinals added veterans. They added T.J. Watt. But I just think, I think that's great. But I think like we see in a lot of sports, hockey being another one of them, I think speed and youth win. I think the Cardinals have a great talent in Kyler Murray. I don't think they have enough to take the division. And then the Seahawks. Everyone puts these guys on the back burner, and they seem to forget about them. I don't know why. If everybody gets in the stands, that fan base is hard. It's very difficult to win there. That defense allowed only 16 points or fewer in the last 9 games of the season last year. So everyone's forgetting about how good the Seahawks defense is. And then they have, I think, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The Seahawks could win that division. So I'm going to take the Rams. I think Stafford was a smart play. And then I think I'm going to put Seattle there because of the defense. And then the 49ers and Cardinals. NFC West games this year, those divisional games, that's you can't miss TV. I mean, any one of those games could have big ramifications come the end of the year.
Yeah,
It's
every
great.
game is important in the NFC West.
It
Every game
is.
is important. Every divisional game is
Yep.
important. I mean, I am torn. I tell you, Mystery is torn on this one. I tell you, it is like the entrails, the tea leaves, the rune stones, everything is is so close that just because I want to make this little spicy, I'm gonna say Seattle wins
Okay.
the division, and the Rams are the second one. But I like Aaron Donald. I like him. I think he's great. I think
Yeah.
he's an impact player. He wins you games on the defense. How do you do that? I don't know.
As
And
a, in a defensive lineman to boot.
yes, how do
You
you do
know.
that? How do you
Yeah.
do that? But he does. He wins you games, and so yeah, I'm going to say that. But all teams are good in the division. All teams are good. It's going, and again, you could see two teams from this division getting into the wild card.
Easily. I mean, you may even see, honestly, with as bad as the NFC South is going to be, and maybe the NFC East, you may see, in the NFC North, you could see uh, almost that entire division almost making the playoffs.
It's
Because
possible.
yeah, I think it's the Cowboys and the Skins, Giants and Eagles are not players. It's the Packers. Like you said, the Vikings could stumble. The Bears and Lions are not players. If the Vikings do play some of these teams from the NFC West, they get plastered by them. You could be, yeah. I mean, you could almost have the whole division in the playoffs. So yeah, so that kind of brings us to where we think this might go with the playoffs. Um, it's a little tough right now. We'll skip maybe wild card exactly. Let's get to who we think might be the two best teams. Let's go with the AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game, and our Super Bowl predictors. Are we okay for that, Mr. E?
Oh yes, please go ahead. It
Okay.
sounds very good.
Yeah, in the AFC East, I think it's going to come down to the Bills, and I honestly think it's going to come down to the Titans. No offense, Chiefs fans. I think the Chiefs are loaded again, but Titans got a great coach. They got a great, solid team that's deep, and I just have a feeling that the Titans have a good shot this year, but it's the Bills to lose. If everyone stays healthy, I think the Bills kind of get through the AFC East. They're going back to the Super Bowl, which is going to drive Bills fans mad. They're going to love it. And the Bills have a lot to play for. If you're not in tune, if you don't know where I'm at, I'm not far south of Buffalo, not far north from Pittsburgh. I'm kind of in between. There's a lot of talk about the stadium right now, and could the Bills possibly move, which is just almost unheard of when you think about that. But we know nothing's a guarantee in the NFL because, in all honesty, the Browns never should have lost their team, but they did. So they have a lot to play for. And, one thing that could guarantee a stadium is back there is tremendous fan turnout, which you're going to get. If the Bills get to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, I don't see how they don't get a new stadium there. So I think it's Bills out of the AFC. Uh, unless something happens, I don't see how the Bucks don't get back. I think it's the Bucks and the Bills, and I'm going to go with the Bills as Super Bowl champions this year.
Well,
Mystery.
I'm going to say same predictions. I say Kansas City versus the Bills in the AFC for the championship game, and then Tampa versus Green Bay in the battles of the Bays in the NFC. I think it's going to be Tampa and the Bills, I'm going to go the other way on this one because I mean I'm a big Bills fan, but they break your heart every time. So I'm going to say Tampa's going to do something which hasn't been done for many years. They're going to repeat as champions this year. This is I didn't even look in the Mystic Vodka, the runestones for this one. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you, this is like a story, but the other story is NFL likes stories. They like the stories. The stories on the other one is the Bills in their state, they've never won. The bad luck Bills. That is the other story that I could see. If the Bills play the Bucks, the Bills are the only team that has a chance to beat them in the Super Bowl from the AFC.
I agree. I totally agree. I think Kansas City gets back there. I think they're a little gunshot. I think Tennessee has enough to get them there, but I don't think they have the weapons. The Bills have the defending. Josh Allen is just an amazing quarterback. he's a guy that could be the difference maker there. And I agree with you on that
He's
aspect
got
too.
the right amount of seasoning. He is ready to go. This could be his year. But I'm just going with Tampa this way because
Yep.
it's because you picked the Bills. I'm going to be a little bit like the other side. I'm the devil's advocate. I'm going to say the Tampas because the Tampas are they've got the Brady. I just but I tell you, if there's one team, it will be the Bills. I tell you. And if they play, we'll go back to this, and I will probably go. Then I will look in the Mystic Vodka and do an in-depth study for Super Bowl Sunday.
And I love the Battle of the Bays reference. That obviously goes back to the NFC North Division when the Tampa Bay Bucks, back in the creamsicle orange uniforms, maybe one of the greatest uniforms in NFL history, were in the NFC North. And it was always funny. We're like, Brent Musburger would say, "We're going live to Green Bay in the Battle of the Bays, and here's the Bucks in their creamsicle orange that stick out in 6 feet of snow." And then 3 weeks later, the Bucks or the Packers are down in Tampa, and it's 142 degrees, and it was minus 11 in Green Bay when they left that the morning after that or morning before. And I used to love the Battle of the Bays when I was a kid, living for that stuff. So good reference on the Battle of the Bays. Yes. Well, that kind of wraps up our outlook for the coming year. So again, if you're keeping track at home, I'm giving you the Bills over the Bucks in the Super Bowl. Mr. E swinging the other way on that one. Next week we'll start our looking at the first week of the season. We'll pick a few games. We'll do the spot on, spot off, and have a little fun with that. So all you guys looking out there to maybe pad their picks, look at their draft picks, go to Vegas or Atlantic and win some money. Listen to Mr. E.
Go to your phone app.
Yes, I know. Yeah, you don't have to go there anymore, right? Yeah, look how old am I? How old am I? It's right here on your phone, folks. You can go right there, go to DraftKings or any of the other guys out there, and go for it. But I am Darren Steele, the Steel Man, the mind of Steel, the Steel Trap. He is Mystery. Thank you for joining us for our preseason predictions.